0 to 1 Notes on Startups or How to Build the Future by Peter Thiel with Blake Masters. Here's a question that sounds deceptively simple but might just keep you up at night. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? Go ahead, take a moment with that one. When most people first hear this question, they reach for something comfortable. Our education system is broken, or America is exceptional, or maybe even there is no God. But here's the thing, those aren't actually good answers. The first two? Lots of people already believe them. The third? You're just picking a side in a debate that's been going on for centuries. A truly good answer is the kind that makes you a little nervous to say out loud. It's a truth that isn't just unpopular, it's something people haven't even thought to consider. It's a secret, hiding in plain sight. This single question is your golden ticket into the mind of Peter Thiel and his masterpiece, 0 to 1. Now, this isn't just another how to start a business guide collecting dust on your shelf. This is a manual for learning to think for yourself. It's sold millions of copies and basically become the unofficial Bible of Silicon Valley, devoured by every wannabe founder dreaming of building the next Google, Apple, or SpaceX. Peter Thiel himself is absolutely fascinating. Picture a modern-day philosopher king of the tech world. He co-founded PayPal, that little company that completely transformed how money moves on the internet. Then he became the very first outside investor in a scrappy little startup run by some college kid named Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, that startup was Facebook. Oh, and he also co-founded Palantir, this mysterious software company that helps governments track down terrorists and criminals. The man has consistently bet on the future and won, again and again. And in 0 to 1, he's pulling back the curtain to show us exactly how he does it. Here's what I'm promising you today. By the time we're done, you'll understand the single most important distinction in all of business, and honestly, maybe in life itself. It's the difference between going from 1 to N and the absolutely magical, world-changing act of going from 0 to 1. We're not talking about baby steps here. We're talking about the giant leap that actually creates the future. So let's dive in and uncover these secrets that are just waiting for us to find them. Every moment in business, and really in life, happens only once. The next Bill Gates won't build an operating system. The next Larry Page won't create a search engine. And the next Mark Zuckerberg won't build a social network. If you're copying these people, you're not learning from them. You're just taking the world from 1 to N. You're adding more of something that already exists. But when you create something entirely new, you go from 0 to 1. This is the beating heart of Thiel's entire philosophy. He sees the future of progress happening in two completely different ways. The first is horizontal progress, what he calls going from 1 to N. This is copying things that work. Think about a restaurant franchise opening a new location. It's just more of the same. The fancy word for this? Globalization. Taking something that works in one place and making it work everywhere. China is actually the perfect example. For decades now, their master plan has basically been to become what the United States is today, copying everything from railroads to air conditioning. The second form is vertical progress, what he calls going from 0 to 1. This is doing something nobody has ever done before. If you have a typewriter and build 100 more, that's horizontal. If you have a typewriter and build a word processor, that's vertical. The single word for this is technology. And here's Thiel's own answer to his favorite contrarian question. Most people think the future will be defined by globalization, but the truth is that technology matters way more. Why? Because a world with 7 billion people simply cannot live the way Americans do today. If China doubles its energy production using today's technology, it'll also double its air pollution. Spreading old ways of creating wealth will lead to environmental catastrophe, not prosperity. Without new technology, globalization is completely unsustainable. The future, a truly better future, depends on technology. It depends on people brave enough to go from 0 to 1. But if this is so critically important, why don't more people do it? Thiel's answer is bold. Our entire society is built on an ideology that pushes us in the exact opposite direction. And this ideology is so everywhere, we don't even notice it anymore. He calls it the ideology of competition. Think about your own life for a second. From the moment you walked into school, you were taught to compete. Grades measure you against your classmates. You take the same subjects in the same way, and whoever does it slightly better gets the gold stars. This continues through high school, where you're stacking your resume with extracurriculars to look well-rounded, which really just means you're competing on the exact same metrics as everyone else. Then you get to college, where people who once had big, wild dreams get trapped in fierce rivalries for the most conventional careers imaginable, like management consulting or investment banking. The goal becomes beating the person sitting next to you, not creating something new. Thiel knows this trap intimately because he was caught in it himself. After crushing it as an undergrad at Stanford, he went to Stanford Law School, where he competed like crazy for the ultimate prize, a clerkship on the U.S. Supreme Court. He was so close, he interviewed with 2 justices. He thought if he could just win this one last competition, his life would be set forever. He didn't get it. And at the time, he was absolutely devastated. Years later, after he'd built and sold PayPal for $1.5 billion, he ran into an old friend from law school. The first thing his friend said was, "So Peter, aren't you glad you didn't get that clerkship?" With hindsight, he realized that winning that competition would have been the worst possible thing for him. He would have spent his life in a prestigious but totally conventional career, instead of creating something genuinely new. The competition was a trap. Business, he says, is exactly the same. We're taught that capitalism and competition are basically the same thing. Business schools teach managers to think of business as war. But Thiel drops an absolute bombshell. Capitalism and competition are opposites. Capitalism is about accumulating capital, but in a world of perfect competition, all the profits get competed away into nothing. Think about the U.S. airline industry. They serve millions of people and create hundreds of billions of dollars of value every single year. But in 2012, they made an average of just 37 cents per passenger. They're constantly at war with each other over price, and their profits are razor thin. Now compare them to Google. That same year, Google brought in less revenue than the airlines, but its profit margin was more than 100 times higher. Why? Because the airlines are stuck in brutal competition. Google, on the other hand, is a monopoly. Now, the word monopoly probably makes you think of illegal bullies crushing their rivals, but that's not what Thiel means at all. He's talking about a company that is so exceptionally good at what it does that no other company can offer a close substitute. Google has a monopoly on search. It hasn't had a real competitor since the early 2000s. And this leads to another one of his famous reversals. Tolstoy opens Anna Karenina by saying, "All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." Thiel says in business, the opposite is true. All happy companies are different. Each one earns a monopoly by solving a unique problem. All failed companies are the same. They failed to escape competition. Competition means a desperate struggle for survival. It means you're so focused on today's tiny margins that you can't possibly plan for a long-term future. A monopoly, on the other hand, has breathing room. It can afford to care about its workers, its products, and its impact on the world. Google's motto, "Don't be evil," is something only a company with monopoly profits can afford to say, and actually mean. In perfect competition, a business literally can't afford to think about anything except making money. So if the goal is building a monopoly, how do you actually do it? First, you need to understand the characteristics that all great monopolies share. Thiel identifies 4. 1. Proprietary technology. This is the most crucial advantage. Your technology must be at least 10 times better than its closest substitute. Not just a little bit better, but a quantum leap better. A marginal improvement won't get people to switch. Amazon offered 10 times as many books as any physical bookstore. PayPal made paying for things on eBay 10 times faster and easier than mailing a check. The Apple iPad made tablet computing 10 times better than anything before it, transforming a useless gadget into an entirely new category. 2. Network effects. A product with network effects becomes more useful as more people use it. Facebook is the textbook example. If all your friends are on it, it makes sense for you to be on it too. It's hard to leave because the network itself is the value. 3. Economies of scale. A monopoly business gets stronger as it gets bigger. Software companies are perfect examples. The cost to create the first copy is enormous, but the cost to produce one more copy is basically zero. Those fixed costs can be spread across millions of users. 4. Branding. A powerful brand is an incredible way to create a monopoly. Apple is the absolute master of this. From product design to their stores, everything reinforces the idea that Apple exists in its own category. But Thiel warns that branding alone isn't enough. It must be built on a foundation of substance, on genuinely superior technology. So you know what a monopoly looks like, but how do you actually build one from nothing? Here's where most people mess it up completely. They look at some huge billion-dollar market and say, if we can just capture 1% of that market, we'll be massive. Thiel says this is a giant red flag. It's a sign you have no real plan whatsoever. Large markets mean tons of competition. The key is doing the opposite. Start small and monopolize. Every startup is small at the beginning, and every monopoly dominates a large share of its market. Therefore, a startup should start with a very small market. It's way easier to dominate a small market than a large one. Think about Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg didn't start by trying to connect everyone on Earth. He started with a single university campus, Harvard. The market was just a few thousand students, but he completely dominated it. Once he did that, he expanded to other elite colleges, then all colleges, and then eventually the entire world. PayPal did the same thing. Their first product let people beam money between Palm Pilots. Cool technology, sure, but the market was scattered and nobody really needed it. They had no customers. Then they found their niche, the high-volume power sellers on eBay. There were only a few thousand of them, but they desperately needed a better payment system. They focused all their energy on them, and within months, they were serving 25% of them. Once they dominated that niche, they became the default payment system for all of eBay. The sequence is absolutely crucial. Dominate a small niche, then scale to adjacent markets. This is your path to monopoly. And when you're doing this, Thiel offers some surprising advice. Don't disrupt. Disruption has become this huge buzzword in Silicon Valley. It means using new technology to attack an incumbent company. But Thiel says if you see yourself as some insurgent fighting dark forces, you become fixated on your enemies instead of on creation. If your company can be summed up by its opposition to another company, it can't be completely new. The goal is creating new things, not fighting over old ones. Avoid competition as much as humanly possible. This brings us to another key idea. We've all heard about first mover advantage, the idea that being first to enter a market is the key to success. Thiel says this is just a tactic, not a goal. It's much better to be the last mover. The last mover is the one who makes the last great development in a specific market and enjoys decades of monopoly profits. The goal isn't being first. The goal is being the last one standing. To do this, you need more than just a good idea and a small market. You need a plan. And this is where we hit the philosophical core of the book. It's a debate about the very nature of success itself. Is success the result of luck, or is it the result of skill? Many successful people are surprisingly humble about it. Warren Buffett talks about winning the ovarian lottery. Jeff Bezos credits planetary alignment. But Thiel points to serial entrepreneurs, people like Steve Jobs, Jack Dorsey, and Elon Musk, who have created multiple multi-billion-dollar companies. If success were just luck, these people simply shouldn't exist. The real question, he says, isn't about the past, it's about the future. Do you see the future as a matter of chance, or a matter of design? He breaks this down into a powerful framework, a 2x2 matrix that explains entire cultures and ways of thinking. On one axis, you have your view of the future. You can be optimistic or pessimistic. On the other axis, you can have a definite or indefinite view of that future. This gives us four possibilities. 1. Definite pessimism. The future can be known, but it will be bleak, so you must prepare for it. Thiel says this describes modern China. They're furiously copying what has worked in the West because they have a definite plan, but they're pessimistic it'll be enough to catch up, given their resource constraints. 2. Indefinite pessimism. The future will be bleak, but you have no idea what to do about it. This, he says, is modern Europe. They just react to events and hope things don't get worse, which is why they're obsessed with vacations. If decline is inevitable, you might as well enjoy the present. 3. Definite optimism. The future will be better than the present, and we have a concrete plan to make it happen. This described the Western world from the 17th century up until the 1960s. We built the Golden Gate Bridge, the interstate highway system, and the Apollo program. We had grand visions and detailed plans to achieve them. 4. Indefinite optimism. The future will be better, but we don't know exactly how, so we don't make any specific plans. This, Thiel argues, has been the dominant mindset in America since the 1980s. In a world of indefinite optimism, process trumps substance. Instead of building new things, people just rearrange old things. This is the world of finance, of bankers and lawyers. Young people are encouraged to build diverse resumes to prepare for a completely unknowable future, keeping their options open. They end up ready for nothing in particular. The popular lean startup methodology is a product of this indefinite thinking. You're told to make a minimum viable product and then iterate based on customer feedback. But iteration without a bold plan will only lead you to a local maximum. It won't help you go from 0 to 1. Thiel's message is a rallying cry to return to definite optimism. To believe the future is something to be designed, not just something that happens to us. A startup is the largest endeavor over which you can have definite mastery. It begins by rejecting the tyranny of chance. You are not a lottery ticket. But even with a brilliant plan, how do you focus your energy? Where will the greatest returns come from? This leads us to one of the most powerful and often invisible forces in the universe, the power law. You might know it as the Pareto principle, or the 80/20th rule. 20% of inputs create 80% of results. Thiel says in the world of technology and venture capital, this is even more extreme. In a successful venture capital fund, the single best investment will outperform the entire rest of the fund combined. It's not a normal distribution of returns. It's a power law distribution. A tiny handful of companies are radically more successful than all the others combined. This has huge implications. For a venture capitalist, it means they should only invest in companies with the potential to return the value of the entire fund. You can't diversify. You have to make a small number of concentrated bets on companies you believe can be transformative. But the power law doesn't just apply to venture capital. It applies to everyone, because everyone is an investor. You invest your time, your energy, your life. You cannot diversify yourself. You can't live dozens of possible careers and hope one works out. You have to make a choice. The world teaches us the opposite. It screams, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But life is not a portfolio. You should focus relentlessly on the one thing you are uniquely good at, and the one thing with potential for exponential returns. The most important things are singular. One market will be better than all others. One distribution strategy will dominate. And your one life has one career path that will be orders of magnitude better than the alternatives. Your job is finding it. So you have a plan. You've rejected the madness of competition. You've decided to build a monopoly in a small market. Based on a secret you've discovered, you're operating with a definite view of the future, and you understand the power law. What now? You must get the foundations right. Thiel has a rule he calls Thiel's law. A startup messed up at its foundation cannot be fixed. The very beginning is a special time. The first and most crucial decision is who you start the company with. Choosing a co-founder is like getting married. The founders must have a prehistory. They must know each other well. Next, you have to define the structure of ownership, possession, and control. Ownership is who has the equity. Possession is who runs the company day to day. And control is who governs it, usually the board of directors. These must be crystal clear to keep everyone aligned. And who should be on your team? As a general rule, everyone you involve should be full-time. No consultants, no part-timers. Ken Kesey was right. You're either on the bus or off the bus. To get people on the bus, you need to create a special kind of culture. Thiel looks to his own experience at PayPal for the model. The early team at PayPal has become legendary in Silicon Valley, known as the PayPal Mafia. After selling the company, members of this team went on to create SpaceX, Tesla, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Yelp. Companies now worth billions. How did they build such an incredible team? They didn't just hire the most talented people on paper. They created a tribe. A group of like-minded people, fiercely devoted to the company's mission. On the outside, he says, everyone in your company should be different in the same way. Think of the startup uniform, the branded t-shirt. It signals you're part of a tribe. On the inside, every individual should be sharply distinguished by their work. As a manager at PayPal, Thiel made every person responsible for doing just one thing. This defined roles clearly and massively reduced conflict. Your job as a founder is answering the question for the 20th engineer, why should I join your company? You can't compete with Google on salary or perks, but you can offer what no one else can. The opportunity to do irreplaceable work on a unique problem alongside genuinely great people. But what if you build the most amazing product with the most amazing team, and still nobody comes? This is where we confront a truth that many technical founders absolutely hate to admit. The critical importance of sales and distribution. Nerds in Silicon Valley are often deeply skeptical of sales. It seems superficial and irrational. They dream of a product so good it sells itself. Thiel says anyone claiming this is lying, either to themselves or to you. The opposite cliché is that the best product doesn't always win. The truth is that distribution is as essential to your product as the product itself. If you've invented something new but haven't invented an effective way to sell it, you have a bad business, period. All salesmen are actors, he says. The best ones are hidden in plain sight. Sales works best when it doesn't feel like sales at all. And everyone is a salesperson. If you look around your company and don't see any salespeople, guess what? You're the salesperson. So how do we actually build the future? How do we use technology to go from 0 to 1? Thiel believes we must see technology not as a force that will replace humans, but one that will complement them. He learned this firsthand at PayPal. In the early days, they were hemorrhaging $10 million a month to credit card fraud. They tried building an automated software solution to catch the criminals, but the fraudsters would adapt their tactics within hours. The software couldn't keep up. Then they tried a purely human approach, hiring a team of analysts to review every transaction. But with thousands of transactions per minute, no human team could work that fast. The solution came when they combined both approaches. They built software that flagged the most suspicious transactions, then sent them to human analysts for final judgment. This human-computer hybrid worked beautifully. It was the key to PayPal's survival. This is the model for the future. Computers are tools, not rivals. They excel at processing massive amounts of data, but they struggle with making judgments. Humans are the opposite. The future belongs to those who can effectively combine the strengths of both. Now, it's easy to talk about these principles in the abstract, but what does it actually look like when a company gets them all catastrophically wrong? And what does it look like when a company gets them all magnificently right? Thiel gives us a powerful case study, the clean tech bubble of the 2000s. Everyone agreed clean technology was the next big thing. Investors poured over $50 billion into thousands of companies. But it was a massive, spectacular failure. Companies like Solyndra became famous ghosts. Why? Because they failed to answer the 7 key questions every business must answer. 1. The engineering question. Can you create a 10 times breakthrough? Most clean tech companies offered only incremental improvements. 2. The timing question. Is now the right time? They mistook a slow, linear market for an exponential one. 3. The monopoly question. Are you starting with a big share of a small market? No, they all jumped into the trillion-dollar energy market, which meant brutal competition. 4. The people question. Do you have the right team? They were run by salesmen in suits, not technologists in t-shirts. 5. The distribution question. Do you have a way to deliver your product? They forgot about the actual customer. 6. The durability question. Will your market position be defensible in 20 years? They were wiped out by cheaper Chinese manufacturing and the rise of fracking. 7. The secret question. Have you identified a unique opportunity others don't see? No. They were all chasing the same conventional wisdom that green is good. They were social entrepreneurs who wanted to do well by doing good. Thiel says they usually end up doing neither. But then there's Tesla, one of the very few clean tech companies to absolutely thrive. Why? Because they got all 7 questions right. Technology? Their technology is so good other car companies buy it from them. Timing? They used government subsidies to get started, but had a solid plan to survive without them. Monopoly? They started by monopolizing a tiny market, high-end electric sports cars for wealthy people. Team? Elon Musk is the ultimate engineer and salesman rolled into one. Distribution? They own the entire distribution chain, selling and servicing their own cars. Durability? Their head start and brand give them a strong position for the future. Secret? And their secret. They understood that for rich people, clean tech was more about making a social statement than saving the environment. Buying a Tesla wasn't just good for the planet, it made you look incredibly cool. Tesla proves the challenge isn't the sector, it's the thinking. This brings us to the final and perhaps most mysterious element of building the future, the founder. Founders, Thiel observes, are genuinely strange people. They don't fit neatly on any bell curve. They're often defined by extreme and even contradictory traits. They can be cash poor but millionaires on paper. They're simultaneously insiders and outsiders. Think about Bill Gates, the nerdy college dropout outsider who became the world's wealthiest insider. Or Steve Jobs, the barefoot Apple diet-following artist who was also a ruthless CEO. These founders are like kings of old. They're unique individuals who can make authoritative decisions, inspire intense loyalty, and plan for decades ahead. A company creating new technology often resembles a monarchy more than a modern bureaucratic organization. The value of a founder is completely irreplaceable. When Steve Jobs was forced out of Apple in 1985, the company was run by professional managers who nearly drove it into bankruptcy. When he returned, he created the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad, making Apple the most valuable company in the world. Its value depended on the singular vision of one particular person. This is the founder's paradox. We live in a world that prefers interchangeable managers and standardized processes, but the great leaps forward, the moves from 0 to 1, are almost always driven by these singular, strange, and irreplaceable founders. So what does the deep future hold for us? Thiel, borrowing from philosopher Nick Bostrom, lays out 4 possibilities. We could face recurrent collapse, like the cycles of the ancient world. We could reach a plateau where the whole world converges to the level of rich countries today, a future of intense competition and stagnation. We could face extinction. Or there's a 4th possibility, an accelerating takeoff toward a much better future, a future so different it defies description. Some call this the singularity. The choice between these futures isn't automatic, it's up to us. We cannot take for granted that the future will be better, we have to work to create it today. Everything important, the universe, our planet, our country, your company, your life, is singular. It happens only once. Our task is finding the singular opportunities to create new things. The paths are hidden, but they're there for those brave enough to look. As we step back from these powerful ideas in 0 to 1, what strikes me most is its profound sense of agency. In a world that constantly tells us we're products of our environment, shaped by forces beyond our control, Thiel hands us back the steering wheel. He says, no, you are not a lottery ticket. The future isn't something that washes over you like a wave. It's something you build, brick by brick, with a definite plan. For a young person standing at the beginning of their life and career, this message is both intimidating and incredibly empowering. It dismisses the comfort of following a well-trodden path, and instead calls for the courage to think from first principles. To ask that contrarian question, what important truth do very few people agree with me on, and to have the audacity to build your life around the answer. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the relentless attack on the ideology of competition. We're all trained to be competitors. We see it as a virtue. But Thiel reframes it as a trap, a massive distraction from the real work of creation. It forces us to ask a hard question about our own ambitions. Are we trying to be the best in a crowded field, or are we trying to create a field of our own? Are we fighting over a small slice of an existing pie, or are we baking an entirely new one? This isn't just a business lesson, it's a life lesson. It applies to the artist, the scientist, the writer, just as much as it does to the entrepreneur. So how can we start applying this thinking today? First, I encourage you to take that contrarian question seriously. Spend some real honest time with it. Write it down. What do you believe that others don't? It doesn't have to be some grand theory of the universe. It could be a secret about your community, your school, or an industry you're passionate about. This is the seed of all 0 to 1 thinking. Second, look at your own plans. Are they definite or indefinite? Are you pursuing a tracked career because it keeps your options open? Or are you moving toward a concrete vision of what you want to build or become? An indefinite life feels safe, but it's often a recipe for mediocrity. A definite plan, even if it feels risky, is where true creation happens. And third, find your niche. Don't try taking on the entire world at once. What's the smallest possible market you can dominate? It could be a unique skill, a specific project, or a tiny community. Become the absolute best at that one small thing. That's your beachhead from which you can expand and build your own monopoly, whether in business or in life. 0 to 1 is more than a book about startups. It's a call to arms for creators, innovators, and independent thinkers. It's a reminder that the great project of building a better future isn't finished. In fact, it has barely begun. There are still secrets to be found and hidden paths to be taken. We've covered the core framework of 0 to 1 today, but a summary is like looking at a map of a great city. It shows you the layout, but it can never replace the feeling of walking the streets yourself. The real power of this book lies in the way its ideas connect and build on each other, and in those quiet moments of reflection it inspires. This summary is your map, designed to help you see if this is a journey you want to take. If anything we've discussed today has sparked a fire in you, I genuinely encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that might just change the way you see your own potential to shape the future. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and keep building together.